Alright guys, so today I am going to teach you how to get your blood work done properly. Now you can easily find a blood test clinic near you by going on Google Map and searching for blood tests near me, or going on the internet and searching for blood test clinic or blood test laboratory. Now, the reason you want to do that is because the hospitals outsource it to the clinics and the labs anyway. So if you get it done directly at the clinic or the lab, it's way cheaper than getting it done at the hospital. And a lot of people only get their blood work done once a year. Plus, it is not definitely a full panel, but just their cholesterol. So you want to get the blood test done which show your blood sugar levels, such as your HbA1c, and to look at other factors which I will be showing you today. All right, so let's go inside this lab, which is in Taipei, near where I live, and I'm going to get my blood work done.
All right. 握着就好，握着就好。对对对。
So I had a scooter on truck accident 11 years ago, and then since then I have PTSD from needles. I'm very scared of needles, but I still get my blood test done like every month to 6 weeks, so I know exactly where my health stands. All right. You should get this done like every 6 months, basically. Now, if your blood work is good, your chances of getting serious disease is much lower, all right? So you want to make sure your things like your CRP, your fasted insulin, your blood glucose, and your triglycerides are all in a healthy range. And actually your cholesterol, your LDL, is the least of your worries. You just want to make sure your HDL, your good cholesterol is relatively high. But I'm going to explain later on why your LDL, which is the so-called bad cholesterol, is actually not the most important thing. Right, so there are a few things you want to look at besides your blood test. First of all, you want to make sure that you do not have a big belly. This is not having a dig at people who are overweight. Last year when I was obese, I had a very big belly. And if your waist is over 40 inches, or you just have a protruding stomach, which is, out of proportion with the rest of your body, then you will have a lot of visceral fat. And it is one of the conditions that causes metabolic syndrome, which is elevated chance of getting cardiovascular disease, heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. All right, so you want to make sure your waist circumference isn't too big and you just have to lose weight. And another thing you want to look at is your blood pressure, which is shouldn't be over 130 over 85. Now, before I went on the carnivore diet 52 days ago, I had high blood pressure, which has come down to pretty much perfect since I started eating a very high fat and high saturated fat diet. And that's why I wanted to, at the beginning of the video, show you that eating a high fat diet does not cause heart disease. The reason why a lot of people believe that is because of a study done by a guy called Ansel Keys, where he cherry-picked the data and basically cheated to push through his study, which has now been adopted and being promoted by a lot of entities, because it helps people to helps processed food companies to shift people off healthy foods and to eat processed foods, and also for pharmaceutical industry to sell more drugs. And then another thing you want to look at is your triglycerides. Okay, that is basically the fat in your blood, and that goes up if, again, you are eating too much carbohydrates, not fats. Okay, the fats that you eat does not go straight into your blood. It gets processed by the liver first. But if you eat too much carbohydrates, then you get inflammation. And if you are already fat and your body cannot handle any more fat because you are getting insulin resistant, so your body is no longer sensitive to your own insulin, then the triglycerides start to overflow from the liver. So you basically can't stuff any more fat into your cells, into your fat cells, into your liver. Your livers become fatty. And that's what causes high triglyceride levels, not actual eating fats. Okay, so you want to keep your triglycerides below 150, and if it's over 200, then you're probably having problems. Okay, and the next thing you want to look at is make sure your HDL is at a decent level, above 40. Okay, HDL is the good cholesterol, although LDL is not necessarily the bad cholesterol. I'll get to that later. And then when you do your blood test, you always do it in the morning. You always want to do it in the morning when you're fasted, right? So you don't want to eat anything after dinner the night before. You don't want to have breakfast. You want to get the blood test done fasted, and you want to make sure your fasted glucose level is below 100. Okay, if it's over 100, still the next day, even though you haven't eaten, then it shows that your body is having problems trying to put away the glucose in your blood, which might show that you're insulin resistant. Now you can actually track your glucose constantly by buying a constant glucose monitor. And another thing that you want to track is also your fasted insulin, which I tracked. And as you can see, my fasted insulin is very good. So it shows that I'm very insulin sensitive, which means my cells still respond to insulin. So if I want to get rid of the blood sugar from my blood and put it in my fat cells, then I have no problem. And again, you can go and buy a constant insulin monitor as well. And it's quite interesting. If you eat, then you can track your blood glucose level going up, your blood sugar level going up, and then also your insulin level going up in tandem to bring it back down. And another thing that is really important that is not on a standard blood test, but it's actually way, way more important than your cholesterol level, is your CRP level. Now, the CRP level shows the amount of inflammation in your body. And inflammation is actually what causes a lot of the diseases that we have. If you have elevated inflammation for a long period of time, then you will up your cancer risk. A lot of skin issues are down to inflammation. The reason why my skin got better, even my psoriasis, is because I lowered my inflammation from cutting out the carbohydrates, and arthritis as well. Like a lot of people had very bad arthritis, and they reversed it by cutting out carbohydrates and lowering their inflammation. And another thing that you want to look at is your HbA1c. Now this basically, the HB stands for hemoglobin, so it's what's in your red blood cells, and the A1C is is the sugar that's attached to the hemoglobin. And it is a 3-month average, all right? So it's not like a reading of what you currently have, because it takes a while for the red blood cells to die off and to be recycled. So it's an average reading. And my reading when I was eating junk food over the winter and getting fat over the 2.5 months went up to 5.3, and now it's back down to 5.1. Now, if your HbA1c is above 5.7, you're already a pre-diabetic, and the higher it goes, the worse your blood glucose level basically is, and it's an indication that you're insulin resistant. And if you're above like 6.3, then you're pretty much a diabetic. Okay, so it's a sliding scale. It's not like you hit a certain point and suddenly you're pre-diabetic, and you hit another point, you're suddenly a diabetic. It just gets worse and worse, and it can cause issues like diabetics will lose sensation in their toes, in their fingers, in their extremities, because the red blood cells, which have the glucose, the sugar attached to it, basically blocks off the capillaries. And it can even cause blindness, because it can block off the capillaries going to the eyes. And that's what happens to diabetics who end up getting their feet and amputated and lose their eyesight. All right, so make sure your HbA1c is low. And again, with all these things, you can lower it by lowering your carbohydrate intake. And regarding the one thing that all the doctors seem to focus on, which is your bad cholesterol, your LDL, it turns out it is actually not that important at all. Now, in the description for this video, I've put the link for a study which is on PubMed. PubMed is basically an online library where biochemistry and medical journals are published, and it goes on about how arteriosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries, which leads to cardiovascular disease, is linked to inflammation. It has never does it talk about cholesterol, okay? See, it's just that when people get heart disease, they also seem to find high levels of LDL in those people. And that is association. It does not mean the LDL is actually causing the heart disease, okay? A lot of people with high LDL naturally live very long lives, and a lot of people who are eating a very low carbohydrate diet, such as a ketogenic diet or the carnivore diet, the LDL will naturally spike up because they are what's called a lean mass hyperresponder, okay? So basically, if you're not eating carbohydrates, your body still needs energy, and those people, and the lipoproteins, which is what the cholesterol is, carries the fat around your bloodstream, and the number of lipoproteins goes up because you just have to carry more energy around to fuel your body, which is from the fat. So as long as your HDL and your LDL ratio, or your total cholesterol to your HDL ratio, is decent, okay, so if you have high HDL relative to your LDL, you're going to be fine. And the reason why there's so much research and so many doctors pushing and scaring people by saying, like, if they have high LDL, then they have to take what is called a statin, a cholesterol-lowering drug, is because the pharmaceutical companies make tens of billions of dollars selling these drugs. And these drugs have very, very bad side effects, okay? You do not want to take them because cholesterol is actually crucial for you to build your hormones and also are in the lining of your cells. And I've also linked 2 videos in the description which explains why statins have such bad side effects, okay? And I suggest you read the comments of those videos as well, of people who have taken statins and gotten terrible side effects, okay? So nobody should ever take statins. The main problem in your blood readings is the factors you should really look at, which is actually more important than LDL, is your CRP, your C-reactive proteins, which I already showed was elevated when I ate junk food, and then it's come down now after I quit the junk food and eating the carnivore diet, so I eliminated the carbohydrates. And then you want to look at things like your fasted insulin, which will be a problem if it's elevated when you haven't even eaten, and also your HbA1c. Now, these are actually the most important factors that you want to look at, okay? And also your triglyceride levels, which should not be elevated, okay? So these 4 points, okay? I'm going to put those in the description as well, of the actual important things you want to look at in your blood work. And also, if you're a man, then maybe you want to take a look at your testosterone level. Now, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but my most recent blood report, I had 731 nanograms per deciliter for my testosterone, which is like in the top percentile for men in age 45. And that would actually put me even in top 10% of 21-year-olds. And I did not have such good testosterone before I went on the carnivore diet in August last year. It was below 500, so I shot up by, in fact, my highest reading was 867, which is just crazy. So my testosterone shot up when I started eating a lot more meats. The reason for that is a lot of people cut out too much of their fats, and they need the cholesterol to actually make testosterone, okay? And a lot of natural bodybuilders and gym rats don't know about this because they follow the diets that the professional bodybuilders eat, which is low in fat, because they don't need to make testosterone, okay? They can just eat a low-fat diet because they're taking steroids. Okay, so just made this video to give people an idea of what is actually important in the blood test, because a lot of the science that's being pushed regarding what is important in the blood test is actually driven by the pharmaceutical industry, and it's all profit driven. It is not like important in terms of tracking your health. Okay, so do me a favor, if you watched up to this point, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll let you know what I look like at day 60 of the carnivore diet.